Dirgadas.
How are you?
Good, good. I just hear you not very loud.
Oh, let's see.
That's getting better, I think.
Let me see my output.
Or is it on my side? Mert, I don't hear you
My
either,
input volume is big.
Can you hear now?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
I can.
Hello.
It seems okay on my end. Okay.
I think it's good now. Look at us.
I tell you what, there's one group that has this meeting at the same time that I kind of wish you guys were able to attend because it's really neat.
Which group?
There's this group called the Mutation Salon, which talks about Gene Gebser's integral work every week. So I've been skipping that lately to come to this group.
Oh, Gebser.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So what times? Just a question. Like, if we changed, what time would it be? Because some people also Asian time were asking. But I think that's then no overlap at all.
Yeah, Tuesdays and
but
Wednesdays
maybe
are really hard for me because it seems like everyone wants to meet almost exclusively on those days. So if we could move it around, it'd be great. But
I don't know. We could maybe also
hilarious.
Also think about maybe Thursdays or so. I don't know what I could do. Hope dies last. What I could do maybe is just send around a doodle with sometimes just to see the flexibility of the group.
Totally. Yeah.
And if it's a possibility, maybe we could shift days. So because it's my evenings, I actually I could do also Thursday, but maybe earlier because it's the time of the Token Engineering Commons community call. But yeah, but that's about it. I can't do any other day either. But let's just ask in the group. Also, I'm curious, like whether maybe there are clusters and maybe we can do twice or different sessions and so on. Hi, Manu. So I think Steph, if I'm right, Steph is joining anew from Motion DAO. But I also see he's got a problem with his audio. It didn't connect. That's how it looks like.
Right.
Steph.
I actually fully muted them because all I could hear was music coming from them. So
yeah, that icon is it's being muted to the corner.
Okay. Okay. So let's see whether he can fix it. Yeah. Okay. But other than that, I don't know if you've seen the agenda. Mostly, I think would be great if we can give space for Mert and the updates he did on the token engineering consilience project. Basically, the library where we put together curated materials that basically helped us to onboard. To get on board with the many rabbit holes of token engineering and crypto economics. Matt, do you want to just start sharing?
Yeah, sure.
Hi, Steph.
It's nice to see you guys again. I can share my screen.
I'm showing Steph as server muted, but I can try to unserver mute them. Does that work now, Steph? I've taken the server mute off of you. Yeah. I don't know why your thing was playing only music, but
yeah, sorry, my YouTube was on. I'm still eating pizza, so.
Oh, okay.
Well, enjoy your meal. Don't worry, and you can mute while not speaking. So, wow, Matt, let's go.
Oh,
That's super
cool.
cool to see.
So
So,
I tried to make a Notion page based on Gitcoin's library. Like basically, I copied most of the structure, but I add something too. So firstly, I talk with Alp. He is also into like meta project, which Sebnem
metagame.
meta game. Like they are creating this meta. How can I express it? Meta profiles, which will have like different features. So I write some bullet points. So I didn't incorporate those because I wanted to discuss with you first. So as the initial document said, like we will have like seed creators, initial creators. So maybe we can, after deciding the structure, we can discuss like parameters, like how do we like allocate reputation points, how long will we have like initial creators, who will be the benevolent dictators in like quote unquote, like for example, to me, we will discuss on this, but to me, let's say Durgadas, Manu, and Shebna, you like have more experience than us, like Steph and me in token engineering, so you will have like better understanding of which kind of library would you like to present. So initially you will have more reputation points, let's say compared to a newcomer, so you can kind of guide. But since we will have like bounties for top creators, I think we should somehow uh, we should somehow create your points should be less impactful in terms of getting the bounty. So maybe people don't want to like people will get like the conversation of nepotism or something. So maybe I thought about it. We can discuss on this. So and also,
Basically, it's also not just benevolent dictator, but also really how to moderate
yeah,
until
exactly.
basically there is a baseline that people who contribute know what's the direction or what is
Exactly.
base value basically. Mm-hmm.
So like dictator kind
Yeah.
of sounds bad. I know. So
No,
so
but that's very very true and valid, and that's basically also one of the decision making patterns that works, right? The benevolent dictator for life from open source networks, and however, I think we're already starting pretty. If you, for example, multidiscipline falan filan, when
sorry.
you show this, I like
What
when
does
you
that
show
mean?
this flower, etc. in Turkish, though.
I see.
uh, no, I like it. It warmed my heart, Matt. So when you show this a cryptoeconomics flower, just briefly, also for Steph, for example, I know they're coming also in motion now. That it's also about sharing knowledge, etc. So in our case, in token engineering, we actually have a baseline, like what is this whole cryptoeconomic space that we want to cover, right? The different versions, etc. So this is where we're starting. And that's why I think it will be easier to moderate, because we can always basically say, fall back to, in the beginning at the very least, right? Fall back to saying, okay, does that cover now any one of the petals, and how? And is it basically going into the cryptoeconomics heart of the issue, or is it just a great writing in political science, but has very little insights into insights into cryptoeconomics? That would be the starting criteria, kind of the starting
Exactly.
structure, and writing that down will help us a lot to actually initially start creating. And once there is content, I think so. That's why I would say the moderation in the beginning, before even curation, right? Helping people to start.
I'm just wanting to bust out this one graphic again. We know the one.
Which one? Maybe we know by heart.
Yeah, well, let me just show you. I just feel like
but let's
go ahead.
well maybe keep track of it, because I wanted that we have one dry run of what structure we have, so that also people can actually self-select to help support the development of the library, because at the end
No, like, go ahead, please. So like in the initial structure, we will have like start here, what this is all about, and maybe we can write a longer version of what this is all about, and like the philosophy behind it in the manifesto part. Like we really talk about crypto economics, ethics a lot, probably more than most of the other like projects. So I think we can include that narrative in our manifesto, so it will create some sort of uniqueness to our library. In the third, we will write how to create, like we will write like what we want from them. Like for example, we talked about it's not about like technocratic best sources library. It will be about even your experience in your cryptocurrency journey. So we will tell like what we want basically in the creation. Then I wanted to make a section called tasks, so we can assign tasks, so contributors will go there. If there's a like open task and they are interested in the library like me, they can easily find contribute, etc. So it will be good. And there's contact and promotional material is basically like we can create some sort of like library badge or something, like for example Bitcoin as those things, which I find kind of cool.
Cool. That's really cool that we can actually
Like they
reuse.
have
Nice.
So then
okay, super cool.
I asked Art from Discovery. They had like good connection with Metagame. He said they can incorporate in Notion, and he would like to help. Like he said,
Cool.
I will support it. So that's good.
Fantastic.
We can talk about
I
it.
actually work with Alp at Discovery.
Okay.
Man,
Yeah, he mentioned he always says say hello to Mano.
yeah, every other day I speak with him.
What is what is Discovery? Is it Metagame, or is it another?
No, it's really interesting. We recently got our proposal approved on Gitcoin. What it is it's a platform that's trying to gamify the knowledge base of DAOs. So kind of going into their Git book and then creating quests and bounties, like creating a structure that we can then populate quests and bounties with, and also we have this interesting idea of like a dynamic NFT, which is I think what Matt was trying to get at with the profiles. And it functions like an updating TV, where depending on the quests or the bounties or the issues, whatever it is you've been completing in your squad or in your working group or in the work stream, like Gitcoin, you get sort of like a pull-up or a micro pull-up where it fits in your profile, and then after a while, people can actually see what you're competent in based on the work that you've actually done, based on the deliverables that you've completed, as opposed to the current. I guess the closest thing is on LinkedIn, where you rate your friends, but everyone knows that your friends rate you because they're your friends, right? This is like it's a way to it's a way to create a more engaging medium where people can even later on get paid to learn, earning to learn, like Gitcoin's objectives. But yeah, it's a whole thing.
Super cool. Yeah, super cool. Well, basically, is it also connected to the skill tree? It's not an alliance, but it's a group. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
so basically, that was also the
ceramic. They're using ceramic, which it's like this framework for dynamic NFTs, basically, where like you can have the creator of an NFT makes it and sells it, but only one people is able to update that NFT, and so that opens possibilities. For example, like on Skilltree, people having a profile, like sort of like a fantasy football type of scenario, but in like organization management for DAOs in this case. And another project that's also very interesting doing that is was the deep work or deep skills. They're working with Tarp actually and block science.
Okay. Perfect. So that was exactly the corner I was hoping us to land. Also with just putting this library together, but then also actually kind of okay, this is what we say is the knowledge that we want to bring together, and also want to actually see people who have been through the multiple petals of the crypto economics flower and have gathered experience, published, what have you, right? And if we can basically alpha test whatever is coming from that ecosystem part, and at the same time, test it and use it and help us to actually, find those people and also connect them directly through the library and through their these my meta profiles. It would be really, really fantastic.
I don't want to derail us, but I want to ask a question: is whether or not one or more of you could help me. The moment anyone says the word gamified, I'm gone. I have no clue what it means. It means I'm not going to connect with your group. I'm not going to have any clue what you're doing. I'm just going to bail. So like, I just honestly like metagame, like I'm there, I'm cool, love the people and everything, but what in the world are you doing in there? I have no concept.
But you are a gamer.
But I don't know what. If there's some block with me with respect to like there's somebody saying I'm gamifying the crypto space. What in the world does that mean? It doesn't have to take over the space. I just need somebody to like get me over this hump. Like I just do not get it. It's complete blockage for me, and I just didn't want to derail the meeting, but I just feel like, of all the people I could ask that question of, it's just, I just feel like I'm missing something. And it seems like this is all anyone's ever talking about, gamifying the crypto space. And I'm like, well, that means that it's nothing to me at all. It just means, so I don't know. So if you could help me, I'd appreciate it.
I have a take on that. I understand that the concept is like trite by now, and there's a lot of people that are trying to, I mean, it's
Can I just tell you what my bias is right away and the reason why I'm blocked by this?
Yeah, go ahead.
All I hear is we're going to more deeply ingrain ourselves into assumed dualities. So we're going to gamify everything, which means that instead of going toward the unified way of thinking, we're going to more deeply ingrain. I mean, the whole problem with the centralized situation was that it was gamified. They literally gamed the entire system to disadvantage everyone else. And so like, to say you're gamifying something means you're screwing it up badly. So like, I have this super big bias against it, and I just don't understand how you could gamify it where it would subvert the duality. And so somebody maybe can help me with that.
It depends. No, it really depends how, right? Number one, I think the number one low-hanging fruit that everyone wants to get at is it's so damn hard to who actually get on board onto anything in this space.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
So it would be actually nice to have, you enter you enter a Discord and actually there are people who welcome you. I don't know what was Steph's experience, who joined Token Engineering Commons Discord now first, but he probably stumbled through some things that ran. I mean, if people aren't invited, guided, but actually want to figure things out, it is actually helpful to see, look, this is a token engineering game, this is the metagame game, this is the motion DAO game, right? In a sense, like, how do I get along here, and what are the things that I can do, and who are my players? What's next for me? I'm just vaguely interested in this. So I think number one is really getting people to get to know their surroundings whilst having fun. However, I agree, of course, with Durgadas. Like, if one guy is coming up with a perfectly gamified system, and he's the only one who designed it, right? To what purpose whatsoever, it can go as wrong as Durgadas said. So the question is really, is it going to be helpful?
Well,
and
I
for
guess
whom, and do they know what the game is about? So I think it's about transparency and participation again.
Yeah.
But that's not our problem at this moment.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that I don't want to derail anything. I just wanted to
No,
like a cry
but the
for
thing
help,
is,
because so
yeah,
it seems
but
like
token
everyone wants to
engineering
do this.
is, I know, but token engineering is gamifying things, even if we say we're designing incentive mechanisms. What is that? You're incentivizing, for example, to create a library. Well, that's a kind of a game that we're coming up with, and so on, right? So, yeah, basically. And those profiles, metagame is obviously in this game meme. So it may be a style thing, but I don't think we shouldn't go too much into those details. In a sense, I think for our group, and I think each group needs to come to their terms and then connect with other groups and figure out common terms and not common terms. And that's how collaboration and so on can grow. That would be something that I wished for us, because otherwise we're gonna just get stuck in some dilemmas all the time, because none of this is perfect. So
yeah, again,
I don't know if it's
move
helpful,
on.
Durgadas.
Somebody can help me. It doesn't have to be in this meeting. There was a good group. I just wanted to ask, and it's just building inside me. So anyway, we can move on. But it's great work on the Consilience library, by the way.
Thank you. So my last idea was that, like, it's again ripped off from Gitcoin. I think we should have, like, or we may have, like, some sort of event series for, like, library. So, like, they have this thing. But for example, in my first experience, I talked with Manu about books, like we talked about at the beginning of my enter. So it drove my attention a lot, and it was very fun. So I thought people like me will, like, benefit from it. For example, we always, like, talk about Omega Group, but maybe we can sort of transfer some of our discussion to library talk, some sort of events or podcast series, or we can, like, create a book club. For example, like, I think TEC had Ellen Rostrom's, like, Governing Commons book club. Maybe we can, like, do a book club. There will be, like, moderator each session. So
I have an idea about that.
I love the idea.
Can I bring that up? It seems to me that our group is broad-minded enough to include a lot of different things. Like, for example, I know with Sebnem and Manu, I've talked about deep spiritual things, and it isn't. I don't think it would be incredibly obvious to everyone how those things actually connect into crypto. So it may be that we'd want to have like episodes of the podcast that say, how is it that different parts of the crypto economic flower work? Or, for example, if you look at the crypto economic flower, for me, the things that are important are all the cool colors, right? All the purple, the blue, the green, and the light green. All of that is what I'm interested in. The rest of it, I could really, and maybe operations and management science, but pretty much that whole bottom half is my, the left side is my interest, right? So I have skills in the other things, but I'm not interested in that in this situation. So it'd be interesting to see how we both break those up and how we combine them, and it might be an interesting discussion to make content out of, or do a podcast or a YouTube thing about.
Cool. What would we need, Matt? What do you think? Like a schedule, and people who actually propose, like Durgadas said, I would love to do such a topic, and they also, raise their hand and say, I'll be there. But then we'd need people who coordinate, etc. But that's just perfect, and it's exactly what should come out of it. When said, this working group Omega has two initiatives, right? One of them is T-Consilience, and actually, there should be, or there will be funds for it, and so on and so forth, and should really self-organize and perfect. So at least I'm all game, and we have already, Douglas already proposing. With respect to books or book discussions, I think it's perfect. It goes hand in hand, like literally the first curators, right, who actually say these are my favorites, and I'd be happy to host, whoever wants to pick one. Manu?
I would suggest a format that incorporates some repetition into the process, and not just like someone presents and someone presents and other people hear, and then they're taking notes and they're not paying attention, and by like 48 hours later, like they won't even remember, and everyone at the moment thought that it was very valuable and everyone enjoyed it, etc. But some sort of like into the process, a way to continue on the thread of the idea and to develop it to maturity, or to the to whatever it is.
The way we did this in the nonviolent communication groups was we'd say you'd have to read the books. That was your entry sort of thing. Yeah. And then what we did was we made sure we had a leaderful group so that you would be expected to, we would go over a chapter per week, but it was also not just a chapter per week. It was a chapter per week led by a different person. So we'd get a different perspective on what that was. And so maybe what we can do in this initial thing is just to say, let's all agree that we're going to talk about a certain thing. And then let's all maybe break it up into, okay, so we've got, let's say 5 of us here. We're going to have our 5 different perspectives on that thing or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And then we all bring, our resources and stuff to that. And that might be an interesting thing to then record as an intro to the topic. And then the more people that come, then maybe the more leaderful that can become. I don't know if you think that's a good idea, but that was something I think worked well in VC.
Mm-hmm. And just to clarify, Manu, did you mean that like it should rotate? Every participant actually should prepare something, or how did you mean the engagement?
Yes, but it's more open-ended in that I think we ought to steer away from the usual, like just exposition, and then the usual like university or the usual pedagogy, and actually look into, okay, how is it we learn, and how is it that we acquire information and preserve information? Is it through repetition, through discussions, through essays, to actually look at how we and incorporate that into our own library? I have some understanding and of how that would be, but I'm by no means an expert. Like I'd love to do the research, but I'm just saying, like, actually incorporate that into the actual structure of how it's, maybe if it's POAPs. I like what Drugas is saying with the chapter by chapter. I've definitely done that for other book clubs as well. I think that's like a standard that's being time tested. Is that enough? Like, how do we augment that, etc.? It's just like an open-ended notion that we ought to explore.
I'm just hearing all of the above would be good, right?
Yeah,
So,
kind of.
yeah.
And also, you know, sorry, Douglas, go ahead.
Well, I was just, the thing that I was talking about earlier in terms of, the graphic that I was relating to is, I think we're going to start at a certain point. All right, there's like 5 of us here, and we've got a curated amount of materials, right? Manu has a certain expertise in decision science and other things. I'd love to hear what he has curated about that, and I'd love to hear how he moderates that, and I'd also like to hear the yes and generative discussion that arises from that. And I think that then from that there's this cycle that we go through that would then result in a better curated thing, which then would result in him moderating things in a different way, and it would generate more yes and discussions and so on. And so this is for me the process by which that can come, and then maybe at some later point I can be the curator because I have learned so much from him and so on, right?
So basically what I'm hearing is or what I'm hearing and adding most likely is, so we have this cryptoeconomics flower. Instead of, just going into one book, we go into, one curator's perspective, and that is, most likely more than one petal. But also we could do it like, how they like to roll, in a sense, say, okay, this is the top 5, and I'd like to host 3, 4, 5 sessions, how many, and basically, but then also have the autonomy to actually not just the autonomy, but also the ask from the T Consilience initiative to form it in a way, and also our support to bring it in a way that is more engaging, that helps the people to actually to think across those disciplines that the curator has trespassed, is what we say sometimes, or synthesized. So in a way such that the participants, look into, at the very least, that they come with questions like, okay, how did you make that connection from, I don't know, ethics to decision science, right? And basically they know your favorites and can actually ask questions, and don't just listen, think that, hey, this was great, but actually when they leave the call, they have no ability to actually build on this initial excitement and knowledge, but actually have them engage with the curated library, with the contents, and B, also help them maybe go through more than just one petal, just because they see, hey, these people have done it, and that basically somehow also excites them, helps them to engage better. Yeah.
So the thing that I was pointing out is I don't think you can engage at that in multiple levels. That's a way we can all engage as a group, but it's also an internal process because, like, Manu came in, you've been educated or you have a certain amount of work experience and everything. So that's your curated stuff, right? And then when you're like, I'm putting my hand up to say I'm going to moderate anything, then you're then at that middle and you have to hold that educator space, right? And then you also have to make sure you're good at the yes and thing, because I've been in groups where the moderators closed down the yes and they were like, you're supposed to only be interested in what I have to say and the stuff I've curated, right? Which is, I think, the thing that you were trying to, who was somebody else was mentioning that they didn't want that to happen, right? That's and that's kind of what I'm talking about is, and I think a part of this thing needs to be that we need to explicitly say, I give you permission to say yes and, not only to yourself but also to engage with this group and do all these things, and just to recognize that this is the internal process that we all have to follow. And I will tell you that I would not be in this community talking about these things and doing all this if it wasn't for Sebnem giving me some explicit permission to say yes and within the context of the Token Engineering Commons. That would not have happened. And it's part of the internal process that every individual can go through, but also we as a community can go through, just, up a further number of steps. So I'm saying that when people come in here, we should say, we want you to say yes and. The reason why I want a leaderful group is to give you the yes and permission within yourself. That's my view.
Totally. And to be honest, like anyone who adds to the library and created something of value that is going to draw interest of, more than a few people, has all the yes ands that they could hope for. And I'm also then sure that they're able to actually host a session about those topics. What I just want to add is, when we have that, let's just be super happy and cheer those people and help them to actually host that session and help the participants to actually take something out of it. So totally with you. But we don't have to first come up with the protocol how to do it. I think it's almost, I don't want to say it's gamified, but one thing leads to the other. And number one thing is, how are we going to curate, get those people, get their curations, and then already the process start, how are we going to say, improve the quality of the initial curations, right, without stepping on toes, etc. So and also incentivize that the beautiful structure that Smarts now started doesn't stay just empty with full of tasks, but not actually being added to. So that's basically really what's next step is more my concern than actually us, the probability that us not being able to hold and enable those sessions. So I think it's getting there, and also it's great to see that there are other libraries. So I just wanted to repeat what Mart, the one idea, so it doesn't get lost. That actually that we might also have sessions across those DAO libraries, right? And just to invite them. I don't know if you had a more concrete example. Gitcoin is definitely one, it seems, right?
Yeah, I saw a couple of them, but can't remember exact names. But I will find the links again and will send. I think, please correct me if I'm wrong, but so I think we should start creating tasks to prepare like the proposal, to give a kickstart, like what we need for proposal first, like we need to justify how we do what we do and the money we need. So if you agree, let's open it. We had tasks section in this Notion. If it is okay, I can share. And we will let's decide like the tasks we initially wanted to do. So people who like to contribute just assign themselves, and let's just like give it a kickstart. I think like we had very great ideas, but I think initial start will like make it faster to implement those other like nuanced approach to, I believe. Like, for example, let's talk with meta game. Like, how do we do it? Can we do it? Can we not? Like, is it
How
on
to integrate?
how to integrate on
Mhm.
Notion? Is it possible or not? If it is not possible, what we can do? Or we will talk with reward people, like how do we give the bounties to people? Like you said, it worked with Notion, so it's good. So and also we will talk about, like, maybe we can arrange a like separate session about just on reputation point. How do we want to allocate,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
how much we can give
Do
this to,
we should
like,
definitely have one also for updating the token engineering commons post to it. How do you work, like, would a longer working group no would a longer how do you call it, hack session work for you, or do you rather like to work asynchronously and then we connect again, or shall we have a, I don't know, 1.5 2 hour session where we really
to me, whatever you are.
brainstorm, write it down?
To me, both is okay. Like, whatever you guys feel comfortable.
Um, so for me personally, my workload right now is more like, let's do 1 hour, 1.5 2 hours, and I block that time, and then we write out as much as we can, and also whoever can join basically picks up some tasks that they can then do by themselves, and also when we know, okay, these are the open tasks we need to fill, or we might know people that we basically say, okay, let's go and speak to them and get them on board. But depending on how many tasks, etc., and then how fast we want to develop, I could even see, especially with all the events, book club, linking to other libraries, implementing my meta for participants, getting people to use it, then the whole incentive mechanism, how do we link it up, how do we write the funding proposal, etc. So I think I can imagine that the initiative will need its own working sessions, right? In
Yeah,
my
like,
view, and then basic. Mm-hmm.
quite a work. Like, we had to do like
Mm-hmm.
different. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Like, but it's a kind of a silly question. Sorry, but how long do you think will it take, like, to wrap it everything up?
Well, it's super hard to
Yeah, I know it's a silly question.
the thing. So I would say if we worked full time on it, I'd say it'd be done in 3 weeks max. Not with technical integration, but with everything, with spec, that we know what to do, and whatever is not technical or is off the shelf, we could implement. 3 weeks top, but without knowing how much people can invest and how many people will be actually contributing, that becomes more tough, and also more effort in a sense,
Yeah, I know.
in my view.
Also, how does this tie into the Mega's working group funding proposal? If is that something you're working on, Seb, or
Yeah. So I had a very short sync with Tamara, thankfully. And basically, roughly, it's also what I said, like, it depends, I guess, with the whole and the pace that we had until now. I estimated about 4 to 6 months to get both initiatives so far off the ground that, there are core contributors, people take care of what we started, and it's already useful so much that people actually continue caring. That was what I anticipated, and I think I also said very roughly like 15K for each initiative. Whereas with the token engineering ethics initiative and the facilitators, etc., I think that's really just for getting it off the ground. And once those sessions are established and people see the value, especially this coaching value that people like Durgadas, etc., provide, which is immensely helpful. That could follow on its own, and at the same time, I think during that time we will see like what of it is really currently needed, right? I mean, for token engineering commons, TE ethics is very much needed, but in the beginning, it might be just that we have these principles and that they are known, and it's just the initial foothold. But it could be that I don't know, whatever the crypto market is going through. Could be that T ethics becomes so sexy that everyone wants to, get support or get a place, get a foothold. How to think about those dilemmas in their networks, or it could be that, people copy paste the T ethics principles, like code of conduct, right? It's always copy pasted and put somewhere, but that's that. That it could be both. But I would say in 4 to 6 months, we definitely have created valuable content. We have a group here that is, supporting each other in those developmental areas. As well as at the edge and even spiritual areas. And I think for this group, it is already very valuable. Durgadas, sorry, took a bit longer.
I was just wondering, see, my brain goes to, there's some things that we're doing as a group, right? In terms of like, we're trying to produce a thing. So we're trying to produce this consilience thing. And immediately my mind goes to, okay, what are the needs of it? But then I'm also thinking about things in terms of like, what is the engine? Right. So I have this idea in my head about an engine. So for me, the way I'm motivated, I like the core.com thing because there are people with questions, and I'm just like exploding with all this stuff because of my spiritual thing. So it's nice to have a question. So that is an engine for me. Right. So what I was thinking was, is there some way that we could try to figure out what that engine could be for us in terms of like, so speaking for myself, like having an office hours where people can drop in and go, you've probably seen me in something. You might, like I know Manu and I, he started coming to me to be like, hey, what's your reflection on this thing, right? And so maybe it could be where like Manu and I have like an office hours thing where we're here for a couple hours, people can drop in, right? And so like, could it be that there could be like, I mean, like, there's no way I'm going to know a damn thing about whatever Griff knows. Do you know what I'm saying? But I also might be able to contribute to what Griff and Livy are talking about. And I would like to sort of make myself available to that in a way that, like, I just drop into all these groups, but I'm not like Griff where I'm in every damn group. And I'm just not, I'm also just don't have a degree in blockchain. I don't have all that stuff, but I think that I'm still providing value. So what I'm trying to do is figure out not only an engine for me, but also something that could indicate to the larger group that there are people here as resources that then hopefully, if they feel like they have a place they can go to get questions asked around this stuff, then this could work. So one of the things I've started doing is just individually going to people and saying, I'm here for you. I hear that you're having a little bit of a hard time. I know you might have your own support network, but I'm here. And this is actually a thing that I'm starting to do with Gravity people and thinking that maybe that's a thing that I should do. So I just wonder. So that's a question, maybe that could be then an engine that would create some of the content for consilience, because I can come back to you guys and say, I'm hearing this stuff. maybe we could engage and then get that stuff down and put in. I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Well,
It doesn't have to be my thing. I'm just saying. I think we need an engine, and I think we need to individually understand what motivates us, and then try to put something in that will create that engine for us.
I think that goes perfectly well with the TE ethics initiatives, in which we already have defined those big blocks of big domains, right? And we have facilitators like you, myself, Manu, who have brought up really useful frameworks, and even beyond that, synthesized frameworks like yourself. And we have those facilitators. Obviously, it would be fantastic if those facilitators also say, and look, I am available, but again, it should be open. And if a facilitator offers that, that should be also, valued, but it should not be a necessity that, you have to be available and have office hours. Super thankful that these sessions will come about and you'll be hosting them, etc. And that is the area where I would say office hours make, or whatever you offer, being available makes total sense. And thinking about how to make that visible, we could look into those My Meta profiles. Like, imagine you have a My Meta profile. It says you're active in working group Omega. It says you have hosted already 3 radical. No, that's for, let me check. What is my favorite session that Durgadas is going to host?
Well, something that
Where do
appeared
we
in my
have
mind
this?
was that like I know seemed like there was a huge demand that might be unmet because Manu's presentation in the gravity group. So we have gravitons, but what about we have like decision trons or something, like where we get people who are like super
no.
like, you know what I'm saying, like
No.
like into the decision science thing, and then so I would be happy to have Manu train me in that thing, and then I can be like he, Juan and me are kind of two peas in a pod with gravity. So how about, maybe me and Manu, like that. So then it might create generate
we
something.
have that. Look, we have that, right? So we have Manu here. He brought in capabilities approach. We thought
Totally.
it's a great way to think. We have
I get it.
Fabian. I'm. We have these, right? And then, well, it's about always, we have to kind of stay focused on T ethics. Why do we look into those decision-making frameworks? Because those seem to be actually helpful to make decisions in not simple situations, not one-dimensional situations. Or they help us to actually open our mind and see that there are more than one worldview in which something could be both true and false at the same time in the protocol that I'm currently designing. Mind blown. So these sessions, right, these are, not because we're kick-ass decision certified decision making coaches or whatever, but we are the ones, who've been burned and resurrected through many token projects, who got their bloody noses and who figured out ways and so on. So that's how we're offering, for example, those world views games. The whole mental models thing that you have is literally, you are the collector of mental models, and we are here actually say this is damn valuable to actually have someone like this to give us a tour of decision-making frameworks, actually, who speaks token engineering jargon, even if he's not, coming from token engineering heavy side. You're able to actually grasp the problem of these networks, and you know about situations that have come up, etc. So these facilitators, we offer those sessions in token engineering ethics initiatives, right? And we are also, I won't be, but if those facilitators, in addition, offer an additional hour where someone can drop in and say, hey Durgadas, hey Manu, I want to, I tried to apply this, but I got stuck. Or, I pitched it to my network and they love it. Can you come and actually, help us to make use of this framework in our specific case and situation, etc. So totally with you, but I would say it's definitely the token engineering ethics initiative. Is that helpful?
Oh, can you please put that back up? I wanted to just make a comment on that. It seems to me that that this, and I just took a screenshot of it, so I got it. Never mind. So it seems to me that radical inclusion includes, and then next to that would be the intro to mental models. Next to that would be worldviews, and then below that would be capability. So I can see a roughly cascading whole, like like circles within circles with respect to that. Manu, do you see what I'm talking about there? Looking at that. So radical inclusion.
I don't see hierarchies though.
No. But this is like Wilbur's thing, where it's all inclusive, right? That this one thing is inclusive of another thing, and I can just see that there's like a nest of dolls here, where it could go from general to specific, right? So knowing where it goes from general to specific would be a key distinction.
Yeah, but do you start from where you are in the spiral, or do you catapult people out of it and say up there?
Well, what I would say is,
I mean?
The role would be for us to sit there and say, what I'm hearing is that what it is that we do in the worldviews game might be the best way to contextualize your question or your situation or whatever. And a little bit like in the Cynefin thing, where we're like, what thing are we starting from, right?
Yeah. So
I don't know if this is helpful. I just saw that and I thought.
So yes, everything is connected, but we kind of need to also maybe unconnect it and make it more accessible for people, just to pick them up where they are.
Yeah, I thought
if you, I know you are inclined to actually put this all into another graphic.
I'm literally gonna do that.
I'd go for it. I'd go for it. You know me, I'd go for it. But I think really people need footholds, and then once they've been through this one and they didn't like it, but they went into decision-making frameworks and they said, "Oh, Cynefin, that makes sense. That's not so woo-woo." But then from there, it's a how do you call it? I think different people will have different footholds. And
and I guess what I'm saying is there's 30 different approaches to a problem here just in these cards and in liberating structures, right? And so having people who maybe as a complement to the things that Manu is talking about, we could talk about these, and he and I could maybe go over that, or that could be a working group or a book club type of activity where we can just review the liberating structures and propagate that.
No, I have you already. New session. I have that already.
Oh, okay.
New. Wait a second. Here you go. New session. Look at that. You're fully booked until 2023.
Okay. I just don't know, when am I supposed to show up for this thing? Like I just keep showing up to these meetings, and maybe I'm losing. I don't know. Maybe I'm lost.
Let me share and make a screenshot of that. But yeah, definitely. So again, the same thing goes for token engineering, ethics, right?
So we're gonna have meetings about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, I think the same thing goes for token engineering ethics initiatives, like those people who raised up their hands and said, okay, we can make something out of this and we want to, this is the dynamo would be actually offering those sessions, or the engine would be an actual people, coming saying it's super helpful, thank you, and then even pulling you for a
I
one-on-one.
apologize. I just keep seeing that we're going to do these things, but I'm just not sure when it starts. So there's a disconnect for me about when does it actually start, because anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so busy that
you're on
I have a hard time knowing sometimes what's going
that's
on.
the problem. That's the problem. I mean, with the token entering consilience, if Mert wouldn't have raised his hand and would have, just started actually putting it into structure, it would have just taken longer. That's that. But we will need the same, and I also think we will need, separate sessions to actually get those sessions off the ground.
How can I contribute to the Consilience library in the best way?
Yeah, I wanna second that, Matt. How can Durgadas and I contribute to the Consilience library where it is currently?
Yeah, because I think both of us are probably the most motivated to get moving on it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And we're both tasked with the largest context, So
in the Notion page, I created a task page. So let's break down the task we need to done. So,
is there a link to that in the Omega area?
I will share.
Or is it in
can
the
I share this? Can a lot of people use this Notion? It's like a business Notion, right?
Okay.
I can upgrade if it's not. Shouldn't be a problem. Share, and if there's a problem with it, then I'll upgrade.
I don't think there will be a problem.
Okay, perfect. I'm sharing it. So
I always feel like I'm derailing these meetings. I'm so sorry about that. I'm a little lost sometimes.
No.
That is all.
This is the action point moving forward from Matt's.
Let's decide what tasks initially we have to do together. So, for example, Manu will can talk with like discovery and meta game about incorporating
my meta.
Would you like to do it, Manu? Like you have.
Well, I mean, I think to like incorporate discovery that's like a proposal on itself. I think for consilience, I can focus on my area of expertise, which is around like decision making and the leadership behind it, how power creates ethical dilemmas, the cognitive biases, meta thinking. I really hate that Facebook renamed to Meta, because that prefix is just such a useful concept, and it's very prevalent in the community. Now everyone's gonna think we're like fucking cloning Facebook.
The Facebook
but
game,
yeah, they cloned us actually. So fuck you, Mark. And
on record.
On record, yeah, we're gonna keep using the meta prefix. But yeah, the meta concept, I also think like Durgadas with all the diagrams is what we're trying to get at. It like find to create symbols around maneuvering around the labyrinth of systems that we created. But yeah, we're probably
let's have a hack session
one
on that.
1 second. Yeah. Perfect. There's just one principle. Please, at least in the beginning, please adhere to that. It's the cryptoeconomics flower. Like what I hear you say is, do you want to curate content for the library, but for those domains that you just said? Or
yes, okay. like I do. I do honestly. Yes, around that area of like decision making, the psychology of leadership, meta thinking, and how that, I mean, of course, how that relates to ethics, and like you said, to the petal of the flower that deals with moral philosophy.
Moral philosophy, ethics.
Yeah.
I like. Okay, so that's the only thing I just that we have that structure in the beginning. Of course, it shall evolve, etc. But if we start with one structure that it is agreeable, that's the only, literally, the only how to create
Yeah, that's beautiful.
prompt. That's that. And other than that, perfect.
Yeah, we can contextualize and recontextualize all we want, but we're centered on the crypto economics flower, and that's fine. That's good to know, and I appreciate that. So if Manu and I are going to hack on something, we'll be like, okay, so I've already talked about how I like the cool color thing, but it's also true that it's probably true that we can find analogs to how how different parts of the crypto economics flower relate to each other, right? In those relationships, then we can pull apart some of the stuff that Manu and I are interested in and connect them.
And
Make
then
them
also
relevant
like
to token
what you
engineering.
do, perfect. And also like what you share, I don't know, your best pick basically, right? I know it's going to be tough, but that's the game. And if you have more than 5, don't throw it away. Of course, just put it there. But really just what's your top 5, in a sense, as not to overwhelm people, in a sense to say, okay, those people, they have just 30 sources and even more growing, but they say this is the top 5 they would love me to look into first, because they say this is how I'm going to get into that area. This is going to help me to make the bridge from how does all of this craziness relate to decision making, or if I'm finally grasping that actually incentive mechanism design and token engineering is all about decision making, even if I'm just a participant who wants to make money. This seems to be a really interesting part where I should start my journey into crypto economics. And these are the top 5 that these people curated, and they have created a little story for me, which connects to other resources, into other areas that they see is connected. That's basically the basic, the only basic rule. Like, just keep in mind, who is it for, right? And does it really help them to grasp and not to drown in knowledge, right? So
I think Mono and Durgadas should have a creation of themselves, because they touch upon very interesting topics. I think it will be very good to see so their creations as the seed initial creation.
Also, the article that we're working on, I also think that's because I think in leadership there's self leadership, obviously, which could be thought of as micro, and then there's meso, which can be DAOs. And then there's macro, which is DAO to DAO, like sort of like the ecosystem and how we're collectively deciding, and even using Snapshot as a sort of our ledger of collective decision making as Web3, Tally and whatnot. But the article, or the series of articles that we've been working on, or actually the resources behind the article on token engineering as a social movement, that's very interesting, because it is a type of collective leadership that someone has to frame. If we don't, we allow it to implicitly operate from the same understandings of capitalism and colonialism that we've seen before. So, whereas if we say, hey, culturally, we want to proceed ethically in this direction, and we understand the biases that we were part of before, and now we're trying to amend them, and this is how we're moving forward, etc. This is our library. Also is very interesting for me as well.
See, and I think part of the reason why I'm all the time talking about the largest possible context is not because I can't reduce things down to easily understandable chunks. I guess it's my fundamental point that decontextualization works for the oppressor, for the centralizer, for the colonizer, for the, do you see what I'm saying? That is the primary mechanism by which all of this happens. So the moment I go to move from the complex to the complicated, like in Cynefin, I've got two choices. I can make an enabling constraint or I can make a governing constraint. And if 99% of the time you're putting in a governing constraint, you're screwing people. And so like, so this is kind of the reason why I try to bring visibility to the larger context of things, because I feel like contextualization is the thing that we're doing here in terms of crypto. And so I'm making a conscious choice about that, not in order to overwhelm people, but I think it's just an attitude we must take, because that is the crime that's been perpetrated on us. So I just want to make sure that you understand that I can actually make things easy to understand and simple. So
are you enabling people, and then also are you contextualizing anything you share in terms of token engineering, right? And whatever these are just, we totally agree, and I really look forward.
And I hope to learn more about that from Manu and stuff.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys
what's
indulging
next? Do you
me.
want to? Do you guys want to make a time now before we leave? Like really to get into a 2-hour hack session, Manu, Durgada, Smart?
Yeah, I can do over the weekend. I don't know how
Yeah, weekends are better for me.
Yeah.
Me too.
I can do this weekend.
Just I want to add, like, I created task series.
Yeah, for me it's not very clear yet. It's a bit like falling into something that seems to be like very well developed. Technically, I'm not hearing merge. I don't know because I'm not only here for Motion DAO. Like that's how Sebnem and I got in contact. But I'm kind of working in Brussels on a little project called Res Gauche, which thinks a lot about commenting. So I'm not a coder. I'm not a person who actually knows how to make a computer do things besides like a GUI or whatever. So from that point of view, I'm talking from a very different perspective. Of course, maybe.
Well, Steph, you're my man.
Well,
that's
for curatorship,
my perspective.
I think all of us, well, maybe except Sebnem, but most of us are in that context of being more qualitative. So you'll fit right in. It's just that I think maybe we're relying on a lot of previous information gathered from sessions that you were not a part of, but you'll get a hold of it. There's certainly not a learning curve as steep as labs or Common Swarm or other more technical working groups. So you'll feel right in. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, maybe what I can share here and now is a bit like my personal background in knowledge. Like I can refer you to our website or what I'm trying to do.
Please
is
do.
That okay now if I take
Please
like
share.
2 or 3 minutes?
Yeah, share it on the.
Yes, please.
Okay, there's this button, or yeah, that should work. Entire screen. Okay, there we go. So yeah, like where I got kind of stuck, I don't know if you can see my screen.
Whoever's sharing their Discord, could you minimize that? It's very hard to. Thank you.
It's still loading, Steph.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, anyway, like I can also just summarize it because I'm running it on a very old computer. Okay. Never mind, let's skip the streaming part. So yeah, I'm just running on a very simple format, which is basically saying I'm trying to combine Mintbase kind of with Open Collective and connecting it to Astro DAO and trying to connect it with a kind of payroll organization. So what I'm basically trying to do is to create some kind of ecosystem where artists can be employed and somehow also be introduced to some kind of Web3 technology by creating an economy of solidarity. It's on a very, very low key right now. It's just one little space in Brussels. I'm like on very precarious level. But that's a bit like the direction I'm taking. So I don't know yet in how or what I can contribute, but there's like other organizations that might be interesting for specifically blockchain, which is like the Robin Hood Cooperative or the Economic Space Agency. They're also kind of busy now with cooperatives and commons and the commons stack. Yeah, like yeah, Excel. Like I used to, like I lost a lot of money on them, but like they're kind of still doing stuff. And so yeah, the other thing is yeah, like what I'm personally always finding quite difficult is to understand how to make it interesting for like non-technical persons. So if it becomes about curatorship, like I also have a website called transdisciplinary.art where I kind of copylefted 3 years
Yay!
of you can always scroll through these things and like find like sources. It's all on archive.org, but my question is like, of course, like if it becomes gamified, like for me, that's also an ethical question. Like I did that as a kind of para-academic research. The moment this would become part of a kind of economy that generates value besides like kind of private use of reason between persons, then it would become a big question for me ethically, because then I could not really put that out there. So yeah, these are like questions that I'm having personally, like how to, I would just kind of like think how to read this kind of material together and then activate it into a kind of form of writing, a form of collective writing or rewriting, getting some kind of new verses on it or some commentary on the verses or something like this.
Do you have a link to some of your things you could share in Omega group so we can have a look?
Where do I chat these things? Can I just
share it in the Omega chat? Yeah.
Yeah, on the Omega chat.
Also, Mertz, I need to have access to that Notion. Can you maybe?
Yeah, like probably I could not give Sebnem as the admin.
Yeah, if you just give me your email address where you want to have access to everyone. Hi Nick.
Hi Nick.
And then I'll add you immediately. Steph, if you, because we're running a lot over time, I'll give you the link, or if anyone else has the link to, wait a second, I can share the text chat channel.
I sent you my email.
Things change around here.
A DM.
Yeah.
Steph,
Okay.
I tagged you.
I'll share this with you, Steph, but it sounded like you do have some overlap, and also the question of how do we make all of this accessible to non-techs is exactly like, and then also all of the ethical concerns is, when we do things, when we decide about who curates, who puts knowledge together, etc. These are the things we've been kind of through. It's not, and we're now starting to actually put things together. So it's actually great to have, people like you on board and actually challenge again or ask, why is that? Why have you left this out? So it did resonate, and it would help, I think, if you just want to go over and just share your perspective, what came to your mind. It might help us to actually not forget anything when we put this structure and content and tasks together. And after this meeting, I'll also always try to summarize, at the very least, the next point that I see. And other than that, I think now, this weekend, then the Notion will take shape, right? And then basically, I don't know if you want to have a next working group update. we also need an update on token engineering ethics initiative. So if it's okay with people that I put what we didn't go through today to next week. And of course, unless there is, some things that need to be provided for the token engineering consilience initiative, we can also take that on the agenda next time. And other than that, let's just see to it that we don't lose Steph, and actually he gets a foothold as well, because it seemed that there is some definite resonance or overlap, but also the perfect big question marks that are our engine. We want to help, get them into exclamation marks and contributions. Okay, then I would say thanks a lot also for hanging on a bit over time. Thanks a lot, Matt, for providing structure and your contribution. It's very helpful, as you see, and gets people started. Thanks a lot, Durgadas, Manu.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
As
take
always.
good care.
Thank you.
Yes, take
Have a
good
good
care.
sleep.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
See you
Really
later.
nice to talk with you. Brother, nice to see you.
What's up, man? How are you?